Good morning on a Tuesday, 9 a.m. Pacific time, February 25th, 2025. Got the digits 25 twice in that date. The number 2 4 times. There's only three numbers in the date. There's 2s and 5s and 1 0. That's something that Doug would look at. Here. It's something that Doug would look at, right? So I got SpeakerBot confirmed. Actually, I wasn't looking at the audio indicators, so I got to do that again. Here's an exclamation mark. Why?
Yes, sir. Bob.
Yeah. That's a big 10-4. It works. And there is a question in chat. I have comments, video comments to respond to today. And I need to give you an update regarding the video surveillance camera system that I told you all about on Saturday. Hello, Ski Man. Enjoyed the trailer. Great job on the monitor effects, splitting the video between the two monitors. Little Doug just chilling on the corner there, but there's more, I'm sure. I think you caught everything out of that. Hello, Tim Cruz, Alice Jones, Brian Lightfoot, John Williams, Ski Man, Brian Lightfoot again, John Downey, Ken Stout. Let's see, here's one. We're going to come back to that. Yeah, I want to come down and see who's more recently. Jeff Ryman, Dan the Man, Steve McCure. Thank you for check. Oh, that's between the two of them. Oh, okay. So Steve McCure found that it's but VIP-CDK deals. Not quite the one that he was perhaps asking for up here. So does that get you to where you need, Steve? All right. Phil Stodd, hello. Then I will get right over to, oops, no, I got to do this first. Here's a joke. I haven't read it yet. I know it's got something to do with a wife. Yeah, let's try this. There. My wife was looking in the mirror and said she thinks she still has a great figure. I commented, round as a figure? And then I will remember waking up on the floor. All right. Now, I want to go on to comments. Hello, Ran Israel. And over here, there's Bernard C. with a comment 204. Says, excellent channel with outstanding top-notch techs. Thank you on behalf of me. Thank you on behalf of all the top-notch techs in the channel. Somehow I was trying to pronounce that wrong, like it was a tongue twister or something. I don't even know how I was trying to pronounce it. And then Matthew Barnes, I got an update. Put that there, 2:30. And reply, an update says, I have a quick-ish. Let's try zooming that a little bit better. I have a quick-ish update on my issue I was having a few weeks back. Regarding my desktop freezing after being idle, I swapped my RAM with a spare that I had, and the issue still happened. So not a memory problem. I tried a spare SSD I had, and this didn't fix the issue. I tried a fresh install of Windows 11 on the spare SSD. I have image backup, so it's not a big deal to do this. And guess what? Still had the issue. I concluded that I probably had a faulty motherboard, as I've almost never seen a bad CPU in my time. I have a different suggestion for you, although he's already taken more extreme action. Another important point is this desktop I was having trouble with is the same one you helped me with in this video. And that takes us to, let's see, do I still have that up here? Is that this one? No, that's not that one. I'll right click. That was back a few years ago, I think, where he had him in Zoom and Ken Stout was in Zoom, Darren Gilholm, Blackwatch, and Gary Weisenberger. And when was that? 3 years ago. More specifically, October 2nd, 2021. That's when that was. The motherboard I thought was bad was a returned motherboard I got from Amazon, as it was the only one I could buy during the pandemic. Okay, so that motherboard he's working with, that we worked with back in 2021, he had purchased it as a returned motherboard, so that kind of lends to his suspicions about it being a motherboard problem. Anyway, I bought a new motherboard, CPU and RAM, all new this time, and it's been 4 days, and knock on wood, so far haven't had the freezing issue. And if you did still have the freezing issue, then it must be the power supply or the case, right? Or maybe the keyboard or the mouse. But I have another thing that we hadn't pointed out yet. Over here I have a video that I recorded yesterday for a computer that I was working on. I record a lot of the work that I do that you guys never see, but the BIOS settings, now it'll be different from one computer brand to another. This one was a Dell Optiplex, obviously, but this one has in its BIOS settings some settings regarding sleep. And each BIOS is probably going to be significantly different in the area of sleep. I don't know. I'm not sure. Here the choices are, this particular computer was enabled in S4 and S5, meaning deep sleep control is enabled in S4 and S5. I don't really know what those mean, S4 and S5, and there's also an S3. I would think if this particular computer was having that problem, I'd be tempted to disable deep sleep because I don't want it to deep sleep. Matthew's problem was it wasn't coming out of sleep. So I'd want to try turning off deep sleep if your BIOS has that capability. Now I think it's Alt-right arrow, and I want to go up to 105.30. In the bottom left corner it shows I'm at 105.12. And yeah, there's 30. So here's another one, block sleep. Block sleep, S3 state. Just another setting regarding sleep. This option lets you block entering to sleep S3 state. So the previous screen we saw S4 and S5. Again, I haven't researched these at all. I haven't even done a co-pilot. Just pointing out that there may be settings in BIOS that could have affected that. Hello, Keith. He gives us a link. I wonder if that has to do with these sleep settings. We'll go look at that in a moment. Thank you for putting that in, Keith. When enabled, system won't go to sleep, S3 state. Intel Rapid Start will be disabled automatically, OS power option, yada, yada, yada. What I'm reading here doesn't really pertain to Matthew because he's got a custom build motherboard. But I'm just pointing out there may be settings in BIOS, and I don't think we ever discussed that. I don't recollect whether he had done a BIOS update or checked for that. And that was not a laptop, that was a desktop computer. Now, some of you are going to say, why would you ever want to put a desktop computer to sleep? Let go of that. If he wants it, he wants it. That's okay. The man wants what he wants, and that's quite all right. Hang on. Going to go check and see what Keith put into chat. Here it is. Right click, new tab. I'm going to assume it was on the same topic. Yes, very good. That's the way to use. Read chat, please. That gets me onto something that's topic specific. Well done, Keith. System sleeping states. States S1, S2, S3 are the sleeping states. A system in one of these states is not performing any computational tasks and appears to be turned off. Unlike a system in the shutdown state, S5, however, a sleeping system retains memory state either in RAM or on disk as specified for each power state below in system hardware context sections. The operating system need not be rebooted to return the computer to working state. Some devices can wake the system from a sleeping state when certain events occur. In addition, on some computers, an external indicator tells the user that the system is merely sleeping. Let's see. I'm going to kind of speed read through it a little bit. Oh, power config /A to enumerate all available sleep states on a system. I'm going to try that because that's a thing. Control V, paste. S1, S2, S3, they're not in numerical order. And S0, hybrid sleep, fast startup. The following sleep states are available on the system. S3, hibernate. The following sleep states are not available on the system. Oh, that's interesting. Standby, system firmware does not support this standby state. S2 does not support. S0 does not support. Hybrid sleep. Now, I wonder if that might be a problem for Matthew. If the putting Windows to sleep was a sleep state that the firmware just doesn't support. This is the only one, hibernate is the only one that's supported. So if Matthew were to run this power config /A on his computer and find that the only sleep state available for that motherboard is the S3, hibernate, then that would be a reason why he couldn't wake it up, because the motherboard just doesn't support it. That kind of makes a lot of potential sense. Don't you think? Londog says, it's been my experience that the S states don't exactly work as described, meaning the functions depending on each individual model motherboard may have unintended quirks. Yeah, well, we just saw here, my motherboard doesn't support it at all, although I can come over here and choose sleep. I can tell Windows to put it to sleep. My motherboard doesn't support that. So I would expect it to not work right. Interesting. I find that interesting. Now let's get back over to, let's see, I did successfully put in timestamps. Aren't you proud of me? Somebody's going to respond, yes, we aren't proud of you. Because I said, aren't you proud of me? And you say, yes, we aren't proud of you. Okay. Moving on. I almost didn't do it. Whoops, that's the wrong one. I do Window key V to look at my clipboard history. Timestamp equals 792. Sailed the ocean blue. No, that's not right. Marius Molly says, just wondering if this still works, or has Microsoft fixed it so you can't upgrade to Pro? No, it still works. Absolutely, it still works. We've had people do that recently. I can't think of any reason why Microsoft would want to prevent that. Now, it's not free. You have to buy a license for the Pro Edition. So maybe, Marius, did you mistakenly think that that was free? No, it's on the thumbnail here. It says free help, not free upgrade. That was free help. And that's all we do around here on this channel, up to 6 days a week. Some people give me grief when I say 6 days a week, and then I once in a while skip a day. So up to 6 days a week, like your internet service provider says, up to 1 gigabit or 300 megabytes per second, whatever. So up to 6 days a week. We are here, Marius Molly, to answer questions regarding Windows issues. You can ask a question by sending an email to me at this email address. Ooh, I can do that. That email address right there, or put a comment on any video, or ask a question in the chat room if you've been approved for the chat room. And the way to get approved for the chat room is put a comment on a video and ask for approval for the chat room. Okay, thumbs up and a heart for Marius. Look at, I almost went past it. Now I think Control V will work, yes, because it's the last thing that I pasted, even though it's not the last thing that I copied. 895 and reply. Gustavo Gustavo Velez. How about that? Did I do that fairly okay? Gustavo Velez says, okay, thank you. Udfermar El Archivo. Yeah, I had to ask. I had to ask. Copilot, translate this. And I just copied and pasted. And what it means is I was able to sign the file. Well, awesome. Thanks for letting us know, Gustavo. Gustavo, we're here up to 6 days a week to answer questions regarding Windows computer issues. You can leave a comment on any video, or you can send an email to me at this address or ask in the chat room. Thank you for your comment. All right, that is all of those. I do not have any emails to respond to. Oh, I have an update for you. On Saturday, I told you about this issue at one of my clients' offices where where there's a problem with the security cameras. The NVR security camera system, it uses Ethernet cables going out to the cameras, power over Ethernet, where only 4 of the cameras were showing up. And let's see how many they have. Yeah, so 7 of the cameras were not showing up. And I had described the really strange, funky network setup with there's a network, there's a subnet of 10.1.10.x. There's a subnet of 192.168.0.x, and there's a subnet with 192.168.0.x. Wait a minute, Doug, didn't you say the same network twice? Yes, I did, but those are separated. They are not the same network. And the video surveillance server actually has access to both of those 192.168.0 networks. So it's just messy. It had evolved over time. I was out there on Saturday and Sunday. I did not get it fixed on either of those on-site visits, but on Sunday I came back here and I got the bright idea to try one other thing, so I connected remotely. Tried that one other thing and it worked. It worked. All the cameras came back on. I'm not happy with that fix because it's not a right fix and it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. What I did to fix it was I disabled the Windows firewall for the public network, not the private network, but the public network. Turns out that server has 2 network cards in it. I told you about that on Saturday. It has a network adapter that's configured for the 10.1.10.x, and that has internet access. It has another network card for the 192.168.0.x. That network adapter goes out to all the cameras, and they do not have access to the internet. When the 10.1.0 network goes out to the internet router, that Comcast internet router has downstream from it through one of its LAN ports, it connects to the WAN port of a Belkin router. That Belkin router hands out IP addresses of 192.168.0.x. That network structure topology was never designed by anyone. It evolved over time for a couple reasons that I described on Saturday. I'm not going to try to re-describe all of that. So it's just weird. It is not by the book. Now that I have found that disabling the firewall for that 192.168.0 network that does not have access to the internet, that brings all the computers back, all the cameras live. What I want next to do is just fix this stupid, messy network topology and get them all, put everything on one subnet. The reasons in the past for having separate subnets no longer exists. And I described why that was on Saturday. What I think I'm going to do is convert everything over to 192.168.0.x so that I don't have to go reconfigure all the cameras, because that would be the more time-consuming thing to do. Be pretty quick and easy to reconfigure the Comcast router, to just disconnect the second network adapter in the server and just let it have access to the one network that has access to the internet, and reconfigure the two workstations that are on that 10.1.10.1 network, and reconfigure the copy machine to use 192.168.0.x. Now, that's going to have a side effect, I think, of fixing the problem where I haven't told you about this problem. The security, the chief of security over 3 facilities. No, he's over 2 facilities. His office is in a different building on a different Comcast service. He wants to be able to connect through the internet to the server from the native video surveillance software. He used to be able to do that. It used to work in the past. It got broken, I don't know, a year and a half ago. And I don't know why that happened. But I suspect that changing things to be more standardized is going to help that. So Greg M says, I agree, it needs reworking, and one DHCP source, that being the Comcast router. Yes. Currently, there are only 2 DHCP sources. The Belkin router hands out
Read chat, please.
addresses, and the Comcast hands out addresses, but the video server does not. So that 192.168.0 network that's for the cameras, there's no DHCP server out there at all. Yeah, I did spend quite a while. Oh, what I didn't tell you is the things that I had tried doing while I was on site. I had told you on Saturday that I was going to isolate the video system from the rest of the network. I shut down the Comcast network. I shut down all the computers and even disconnected the Ethernet cable from the server that goes out through that pass, so that the server was only having physical Ethernet access to the cameras and the security surveillance computer.
Read chat, please.
And I'll get to that in a moment. And then I went one step further. After shutting all those down, I restarted the surveillance server and restarted the switch. And then I went even further to disconnect all the other cameras at the switch. So there's only one camera connected, one of the cameras that were not coming through, and the surveillance server, and disconnected the workstation to eliminate those physical issues out there. And it still would not pick up that camera. It wasn't until I turned off the public firewall that we're okay, that those cameras came back live. Now, the strange thing about that, and Sheldon, I will get to your comment. The strange thing about that is that 4 of the cameras were working, even with the firewall turned on. And they all utilize the same ports. Now, one of the other things that I did is I went through their firewall instructions with a fine-tooth comb to be sure the firewall settings on the server were all correct, and that they were applied to both the private and the public network profiles. Now, I found a way, I used a technique in Registry Edit, and I could also do it in Security Policy Editor, to force that other network adapter to be identified and as a private on the private network profile. When I did that, the camera still did not work. So it's not a problem with the public firewall itself. It's a problem in the firewall, period. Even though all the settings going through with a fine-tooth comb are correct, it's still not working. So when things are configured right and they're not working, what are you doing that is not by the book? Whatever's not being done by the book, go fix that. And that's where I'm at with this. So Sheldon or Ran, let's see, I think both of you maybe. Physically separating video traffic and regular traffic networks is still a good idea, not required but advisable. Yes. In a high security environment, I would definitely go along with that. This is not a high security environment. The administration office is unlocked 24/7. Anybody could walk up to the computer and just start using it. Now, there's a physical security guard outside the door of that office, so nobody's going to really get to that. But the security personnel could go into the main office and access that computer. They don't have security concerns there. The software that is of security concern, when you launch that, you have to log in. So there's credentials to gain access to anything that has sensitive data. So yeah, in generally speaking, it's a good idea to have it. Now, I can separate it through firewall settings. So I could still prevent something from connecting like physically to one of those cameras, the Ethernet, but they're mounted in the ceilings. Nobody's going to get into there, and this is not a research and development or government institution. In general, cameras should be on a separate subnet. I would agree with that in general. To simplify things for us and give us convenient access, and because we don't have security concerns, I'm going to let go of that. Their high traffic can cause problems for other systems, printers on the same subnet. That's not going to be an issue here because of the switch that they're going through. That traffic is not going to go out through the rest of the network, because in a switch, the traffic it's not a hub. The traffic's not going to go out blasting over everything. So I don't see that as an issue. High traffic, that traffic is only going to be occurring between the cameras and the NVR server. If you think I'm wrong about that, I welcome you to submit something else on that, because I still could backtrack on that piece. But the two separate networks, the Comcast network 10.1.10.0, and downstream from that, the office computer and the copy machine that are on 192.168.0.x, there is no reason for those to be separated. That's the biggest faux pas I see. Since the video system is public facing and security issue, video system is not public facing. I don't know where you think that, Greg. Unless you're thinking because the security chief in the other system, that is the way that is accessed is through port forwarding, and the router that's in port forwarding to the MDR system. So if somebody were to have the information, could they get to those cameras? Yes. But those cameras are all in public areas. They're not anything private. So I don't think we're going to worry about that. Public and private settings can be interesting. Yeah. I treat everything on public facing as a hacking target. You want to eliminate the exposure on that network? Yeah, no. They're all public areas. Anyone can get into where those cameras are at. As a general comment, that would typically be a concern, not in this situation. Okay, boy, that puts me to the bottom of the hour. I intend for these to be half an hour long. That's a conversation between them, and there's an opt-out. Microsoft 365 raised the annual cost and added Copilot. So do I need to reinstall Office Suite? Has anyone added Copilot to their Office software? I have. I've actually paid the additional subscription to have, I guess, the paid version of Copilot. I thought Copilot is available, but not automatically included, because I actually paid for it. Will now cost more unless you do this. Oh, all right. This month. I guess that's January. I think I subscribed to Copilot in January. Automatically come with Copilot, AI tool. Yeah, but I think I have I think it comes with a free version. And I bought more. Oh, your next prompts a price increase of $3. How to go back to classic. All right. Interesting. Thank you for that. It has done some pretty amazing things in OneNote for me. All right. I think that's it. We're going to shut this thing down. Which button am I going to give you? You don't know. You don't know. You can send an email to me at that address to ask a question. I'll respond to it live, and the chat room will respond to it. You can leave a comment on any video. You can ask a question in the chat room. If you've been approved for the chat room, to get approved for the chat room, leave a comment on any of my videos asking to be approved for the chat room. Have a great Tuesday, everybody. Catch you later. Goodbye.
Flintstones meet the Flintstones.